Chris.
Okay. Love Mickey.
All right, we'll start with Kyla McMakin. A tough first half for you, got in some foul trouble, but the response was incredible in the second half. You scored all your points in that second half. Tell us how much it meant to come through for your teammates the way that you did today.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that I was struggling a little bit prior in the few other games, but I really wanted to just focus on what I can control and, work on, having positive attitude, even if I'm not scoring or, feeling like I'm not impacting the game, just trying to stay positive the whole time. And I felt the difference. Like, I was like, okay, I'm not really that mad right now. So, and it was good. My teammates in the practices before, every missed shot, I swear they would run up to me and be like, it's okay. Like, it just having that, okay, guys, I'm not gonna. And I think that helped out a lot, just, them trying to make sure that I'm okay. And I think that helped out.
And for Brooke Flowers, another double-double in this game. You came up with some big defensive rebounds down the stretch of this one. Talk to us about how much that meant in a game that was filled with offensive rebounds on both sides to clear the glass on the defensive end a few times late.
I think the rebounding is something that, Coach Tillett has really challenged us to do, especially the post players. So, I just try to do my best to kind of lead by example in that sense. And, just kind of doing everything that I can on the defensive end to help the team, bring out a W. So we knew we needed to get stops, so just trying to, get rebounds when they were in my area.
And pick up that big W in this one. We'll let Kyla McMakin and Brooke Flowers get back to signing autographs. Very positive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, you two.
And for Coach Tillett, general thoughts on a huge rivalry win?
Yeah, it was really fun kind of preparing. Our athletic director, Chris May, dropped us some T-shirts off in one of our staff meetings when we were watching film, planning for practice. And then Brooke and Julia, I think, have done a really good job of explaining to us, right, like the depth of this rivalry. Rivalries aren't lost on me. I got the opportunity to be a part of Army-Navy when I was coached at Navy. So they're great, right? They just bring out the best in each opponent. So I thought our women really rose to that. In the fourth quarter, it was back and forth, and we said in one of our last timeouts right before we took the lead, for good was, all right, guys, we keep taking the lead, take it and hold it. And I thought our, veteran leadership did a really good job in that time frame. Julia, Brooke, Kyla had a big block on defense that we needed. So those things were critical down the stretch. And yeah, I thought, closer to the way we want to play offensively, almost 6 in double figures, right? 1 bucket for each person. So sharing it, and then defensively, we still want to hold teams to low scoring averages. Our second half D was better. Their, fourth quarter they hit some for sure, but no, I thought the way our women finished this out was really impressive. We tied rebounding. We were pursuing that the whole game to try to get that because they were +5 on us most of the game.
Toughness is a big point of emphasis for this program. A couple of plays that stood out from the freshman Mia Nicastro at the beginning of the game, taking a charge to begin the game, and then at the very end, with the headset off, I could hear you at the end of the game saying, Mia, you got to get that rebound. And on the very next play, she comes up and grabs a huge, again, defensive rebound down the stretch. Yeah,
you talk about coachability, right? Like, it's not often that a freshman can absorb information at the rate that she's doing it and is being demanded of her. So she knew we wanted to get charges today, so she goes right out and gets one. And then that rebound, I remember exactly, that was a huge rebound. We're like, Mia, you got to get it. And it's like, if coaching were that easy all the time, right? And you just said, please do this, please do that, please do that, and they do it. But Mia does that a lot for us. What we ask, she goes and delivers on.
Julia Martinez finishes 1 steal shy of the program record in a single game. She had a game with 7 steals earlier in the year, 8 in this one. Her relentless effort just rubs off on everyone, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think, she gets them all over the place. She can get them on the ball. The combination of her and Ken helps too. Ken can apply some pressure. And then Julia, sneaks in those passing lanes. I thought the one at the end on number 33 was just really, really smart. And I think the other thing is the way she prepares for a game. She watches all of our games. She, watches our opponents. But then when we give Scout, nuggets, she takes it and she goes and does something with it. And that was an example of her coming out of that timeout and getting it.
Late in the first half, Peyton Kennedy comes off the bench, pace of this game changed and it was in favor of the Billikens. Did you notice that as well?
I did. I thought Peyton came in, and she has this knack of sometimes coming in and just making a big layup, right? Like makes the layup and changes the momentum to settle us down a bit. At the same time, saying to us, like, all right, let's go. So it's a really neat effect that she has on us when she enters the game.
In the fourth quarter, you mentioned a little bit that Dayton was making their shots early in that quarter, mixed it up a little bit, threw some zone defense in there. Do you think that just giving them some different looks helped change the turn of the tide in that fourth quarter?
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret that we're trying to find our defensive identity. And so sometimes when that's what you're doing, you've got to be creative and your team's got to be adaptable on what's working for us tonight. I thought really good scout by Coach Day. She wanted to go to that a little bit earlier than we did, so good eyes by her. And I thought we made a couple adjustments even within that time frame that I thought our women did well. And as you build a championship program, I mean, that's what it is. When you get to the championship game, you and the other coach have faced each other many times, and you've got to be able to make adjustments, and your veterans have to be able to sneak out plays, sniff plays out. And I thought our women did a good job of that. There was a really nice back and forth offensive segment in the game where we were making adjustments, they were making adjustments, and both teams were scoring. We'd probably both like to see a little more D in that segment, but yeah.
The defense came through in the end, forced 22 turnovers in this game, some big ones in those final few minutes. Talk about this team's ability to have the response on the defensive end. It seemed like a lot of those turnovers came after made buckets on the other end for Dayton.
Yeah. I think some of that's Julia and Ken and just their ability to, speed people up. And I think sometimes that relentless effort those two play with defensively the entire game, by the time you get to the fourth quarter, teams might be able to handle it for a long, long period of time. Then you get late in the fourth, and it's like these two are still playing that hard. They still have that much energy, that much speed and pace left, and those two do. So I think, that those credit to both of them, and then their teammates recovered some of those too. So it was good.
Kennedy Calhoun seems to just never get tired out there. Talk about what that means to her teammates to watch somebody out there as just a true sophomore, never runs out of energy, constantly setting that example.
She really does. And there was one moment when I was like, do we need a timeout to rest her? Because we don't want to take her off. She just manages the game the way that we want so well. And I thought both she and Julia really paid close attention to valuing the ball late. We've been talking a lot about ball security. And I thought both of them are just like, no, we're going to manage this game the way it needs to be managed. But yeah, Ken, she seems like she never gets tired. She really does seem that way.
And you mentioned that leadership earlier. It seemed like in big moments, a lot of communication going on in this game, pointing, talking, very verbal from this group.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that. We've been working on that in practice. We think it's absolutely critical for us to continue on a positive trajectory. And I really do think Julia and Brooke, I saw Brooke one on a defensive possession today say to her team, like, we have to get this. And there's power in that. And when you bring a new group together, sometimes you're hesitant to say it the way that you need it. And maybe the rivalry brought that out a little bit. Everybody on our team can handle it, and we need to talk to each other that way, demand excellence from one another. I thought both of those guys did a good job demanding excellence from all of us today.
So the big rivalry win in this one. Next up, on the road to Duquesne. What can you take into that game from this one to build off of?
Yeah, I think we got to build some defensive energy, the power of stops. There's just a lot of power in getting stops. Consistent rebounding improvement by this group, which I think is good. Took a step back in the turnovers. We were forcing so many, that might have impacted us just a little bit too. But, winning on the road in the A-10, you got to be really focused to do it. And so that'll be turn our attention to Duquesne. And fortunately, they're one of the few teams that I've coached against in the past. So coached against them last year, so at least we've got a sitting scout that we can work from.
A little familiarity
Yes.
never hurts. Thank you so much for the time, Rebecca Tillett, head coach of the St. Louis Billikens.
Thank you so much, Colin. Appreciate the